Okay, it's going.
Okay, great. Could you introduce yourself and explain something about yourself and your cultural background?
So my name is Carmynn Bonner. I am a freshman at Hampton University. I'm a bio-pre-med major, and I am African American, Caucasian, and Romanian.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people would not guess that about me just because.
Oh, okay.
I don't really have some of the features Romanians typically have, but
okay.
when I started looking at pictures of my great grandparents and all that, and seeing their facial features, I'm like, okay, I kind of have the nose a little bit, it's not big, but I kind of have the nose shape and the lip shape kind of, so I was like, okay, I definitely have some Romanian features.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. And okay, so is it your father is African American or your mother is African American?
My dad is African American and Native American, and my mom is not fully Romanian, but she has Romanian in her.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, and so in terms of culture, what do you identify with in terms of being mixed in this sense and everything?
I mean, usually when people ask me what race I am, I just tell them I'm mixed, I'm biracial, because I'm not just African American, I'm not just Caucasian, I'm a multiple different things.
Right.
And and then if people ask me the more specifics, then I'll tell them when I'm filling out stuff, when it'll ask well, what's your race, and it bulletproofs all the things, I typically either put multiple or other if it doesn't give options, because sometimes you can only click one, and I'm like, well, how's that supposed to work? So
that's really interesting. Yeah. So and how has coming to an HBCU helped you connect with your African American roots on that side?
It definitely has, because I come from a predominantly white area, so I kind of have just always grown up around went to high school at a predominantly white school, and the area is just very white. I mean, it's pretty diverse now, but back then it was not as diverse as it was now. I would be one of the only black girls in my class, and obviously my hair was different, and so kids would look at me and be like, well, you don't look like us, so but my thing is, it's just why do we look at the outside when it's about what's on the inside? Because we all bleed the same color, we're all human, we all have the same lifespan, stuff like that, so it's why does it matter that I have melanin and that you don't?
Exactly.
Basically. And being in an HBCU has definitely allowed me to be more vocal and speak out on certain things, because back at home I really couldn't, because obviously I was in a predominantly white area, and obviously I didn't want to get in trouble because of my school and all that, but now definitely here I have more freedom to speak on what I believe in, feel more comfortable in my own skin, be comfortable to wear braids and not get looked at when they're a little grown out, just things like that. I definitely feel more comfortable to be myself at HBCU.
Oh, that's good. And then what about so can you say something about the African American experience and your viewpoint about it in American culture?
Back at home or here?
Yeah, it could be, yeah, or even just in general as well. It could be, and you can answer that any way you want.
I would definitely say it's hard, because obviously we get looked down upon as a lower class. We get looked down upon for literally just doing the simplest things, just because that we have melanin, and the stigma placed on Black people has been around since slavery, basically, and it's never went away. But people have said that they thought racism went away, and I'm it's never went away. It's just become more apparent because of social media and the leaders that we've had who basically don't do anything about it and think that it's okay. For example, Trump, when the storming of the Congress House, he didn't say anything about it, but when he did say something about it, he was thank you for all the support, just thanking them instead of doing something about it, because that's absolutely crazy.
Right.
And then posting on Twitter referring to black people as criminals and thugs, and it's just like he's allowing people to think these things as well because he thinks them, and a lot of people ended up looking up to Trump because he was a billionaire who makes a lot of money, like he knows how to make money, and so people would look up to him and try and be like him, and then that allowed for more and more people to start speaking up on what they believe in, and to blame also with social media, because in COVID, like, TikTok became more popular, Instagram, like, every social media just became way more popular than it used to be. And so there would be people who would make fake accounts, make accounts where you don't know who they are, and basically they're just anonymous, and they would post whatever they would want, and they wouldn't care because no one's going to figure out who they are, so they could post, for example, calling somebody the N-word or just things like that, and nobody will ever know who it is because it's anonymous. And I've had an experience back when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening. I posted something on my Snapchat just like letting people know that when the police like showed up at protests, they were like identifying people and trying to arrest them. And I was telling people, like, wear masks because the easiest way to identify somebody is their nose. So I was just telling people, if you're going, be safe and wear a mask so that way you don't get arrested and get in trouble for standing up for what's right. And then somebody at my school slid up on my story and was like, the protests are stupid, blah, blah, blah. So we start arguing back and forth, and I'm literally eating this man up. Like, he's trying to come at me, and I'm coming with the facts and statistics, and he's coming with stuff that he has briefly read on the internet that's not even true. And then he tried to tell me that he was more oppressed than me because he got called a cracker and a snowflake. So then I responded with a list of every single name that I've been called and that black people get called daily, and he stopped talking after that.
Well, I think that goes back to like a really important question, like in this country, is like just the whole concept of like a lot of white people not being aware of white privilege and not being aware of like racism and having that privilege not to be aware of it. I think that that's part of the big issue. And then I mean, obviously, I guess a lot of people have said in the class it's never going to change. I mean, it's just like, that's really, I don't know if I don't agree with that it should never change, because, I mean, obviously we should fight to make it change, but we should try to do something to make it change. And then, do you feel like there's a way to, I mean, obviously there are white people been white people throughout history who stood up for African Americans and for other minorities. It's true that it hasn't been that many, but you know, do you think that there's a way to change that whole narrative that's being kind of put out there to make people in the white community more like the conservative element, and the people who are the haters kind of amplify their voices? And is there a way to change it, or do you think like it's difficult to change it?
I feel like there is a way, but it's not just like us who has to say something and want to do something. It's also them.
Of course.
Like it's all in the other people as well. Like if they don't want to change their ideas, if they don't want to change the way that this country is, then there's just going to be more and more people that are with them and going to stand with them. And like I was writing in my final paper, like, and how I mentioned in class, like we preach equality 24/7, but nobody's doing anything about it to fix it. Like we have these protests, but the government is still not listening. And it's just, it sucks because we use our voices, but they're not loud enough to be heard by the government. Because we get looked down upon as a lower class, and it just like, it continues to get worse and worse like each day and each president that we get, because Trump didn't do anything. Biden hasn't done anything, and it's just like, when will somebody actually make a change? Because more and more black people are dying solely because they are black. and especially like if you live down south, I don't know if you know what this is, but they're called like sundown towns.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that means when the sun goes down, you should not be outside. Like, you need to be in your house, and this refers to black people because there's white people that go out and kill black people.
That's crazy.
And you see it like...
oh, I definitely believe it, because like when I was like, I was really, really young, and I told you like before, when I was doing the breakdancing and everything, my friend, Victor or whatever, he was doing all the popping and stuff, but he was a taller, like, young black boy, you know? But he was actually chased by like a redneck. This was in Louisville. He was chased by a redneck in a pickup truck who tried to run over him. He just told me the story about that. That was a long time ago, but it still happens today. It's still the same kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
and like with Trump, it's like, it's kind of like you said, it's kind of gotten like even worse. And then it's like with other minorities as well. It's just like everything is based on like erasing other people's difference or mocking it, and so then you just, I guess there's the focus on equality and things like that, but there's not telling people's stories or listening to people's real stories. Do you think that that's also part of the problem? Like, people aren't really listening to other people's stories.
Yeah, there's zero empathy in this country, and like, I could sit down with a redneck and try to tell them where I come from and my life, and they'll realize how similar like our lives are, but they're still gonna look at me differently just because I look different from them.
Right.
But that's what's the beauty of being human. Like, we all look different. We're all fine. Unique and different in our own ways. So it's just like, why do you want to be the same? Like, why do you want to just, I don't know how to explain it, like, just be one with everybody. Like, I'm a type of person, I want to be different. I want to be unique from everybody else. I don't want to be the same, because then no one's going to know who I am. So it's just like, why do you want everybody to look the same? Like, with the Holocaust, have blonde hair, blue eyes. Like, what is the reasoning for that? Because it's literally, you're copying, pasting the same person.
It's horrible.
And trying to make the whole country feel that way and believe that way. And back, like, with the sundown towns, not only is it happening to black people now, like, it's happening to people of color, period.
Right.
Because
I know with like Italian Americans, I was surprised, like, I didn't know anything about the history, but there were even like Italian Americans lynched in the past and everything, and I didn't even really know that. But like, you go back into the history, you start to learn those kind of things.
Yeah.
But and then like what's happening with all the Hispanic people in this country, where just the anti-immigrant thing is getting stronger. Do you feel like, and the racism is getting, do you think it's getting stronger in this country, like, or getting worse? I don't know if that's the right
I definitely
adjective.
think that it is getting worse, and it will continue to get worse until somebody does something. And who knows when that'll be, but genuinely that fears me, like, for the younger generations.
Yeah.
Because I fear for their life, because like the school shootings, a lot of them are white people that go into typically black environments,
right,
and try and shoot up a school. Or this one, I don't remember when it was, but there was this white man, I think like around his 20s, maybe young teens, and he went to a predominantly black area, went into a grocery store and shot it up.
Oh yeah.
And he said basically
that was like in the Buffalo.
Yeah,
thing, right?
and he basically was just talking about how basically getting rid of black people. Right. Which is why he went to that area.
And that I was reading, like, well, listening to the news. And it was the Italian news, and like all the immigrants coming in. I think I showed that in a class in Italy, and then there's actually a whole group of people now who want to go back to fascism, and then part of their whole idea is they believe that white people are being replaced by people of color or people from different backgrounds, and so they're creating that whole concept. I mean, do you think that kind of theory is going to become more like mainstream from these people, like this kind of craziness?
I feel like it will definitely have an influence on our country. And even like in my paper, I was talking about like the lack of diversity in healthcare. And the reason that diversity in healthcare is so important is because a lot of African Americans, when they come to a doctor's office, they know that's predominantly white. And when they see that, they feel scared to speak up on their symptoms because they feel that they're not going to get the same treatment. And when I was researching, statistics showed that some doctors still believed medical myths that were around like when slavery was going on and like back in the 1900s, that black people had a higher pain tolerance than white people, so they would basically just give them the wrong meds or just give them the wrong treatment, and then they would end up dying. And it even still happens today. A lot of black people are dying because they're not getting the proper care that they need because people put these stigmas on them. And even like on a worker side, there's only like 5% of physicians that are African American, whereas I believe it was around like 50% were white. And that big difference just shows like how African Americans don't get the same opportunities or the same treatment, because having African American physicians in all like medical fields is important, because as a patient you see somebody that has the same cultural background as you, you're going to feel more safe, you're going to feel you're going to feel more at home because you have somebody that you can relate to. Whereas if you don't, you're not going to feel as safe and you're not going to feel as heard. Like even me, when I had an experience when I was in the hospital, I believe it was either January or February, and I was battling an upper respiratory infection. And I went to, I forget which urgent care it was, but I sat in the emergency room for literally like 3 hours, and a bunch of white people got treated before me. And I told them multiple times, I said, I can't breathe. Like, I feel like I literally cannot breathe, and I'm worried that I'm like gonna stop breathing. And they're like, someone will be with you shortly. And I'm just like, but you're gonna treat the people that have a cough and a little sniffle. But me, I can't breathe. And I'm sitting for 3 to 4 hours in the waiting room, waiting to be treated.
Do you think that PTSD also, I mean, is kind of like with your generation going through like Trump and what happened with Black Lives Matter and then all of these different things, do you think PTSD also kind of like is figured into some of these experiences that people have had?
I definitely think so, especially like during the protest time, when people were protesting and like they were getting attacked by the police, maced, like literally just for speaking their mind. That definitely pulled out PTSD, and then seeing their friends get killed just for being black, like even me seeing that, like that like saddens me, because it's like that could be me.
Right.
And a lot of times they're literally walking to the grocery store, they're going on a run and they have their hood on, they're walking a dog, like they're doing simple daily tasks, but racists will find any single thing and try and twist it and be like, oh, this black man has a gun, when in reality, like literally it could be just a cane. Exactly. And it just shows the stereotypes that people put on black people, which is sad, because slavery was over so many years ago, but yet it feels like it's gonna come back with how
the way they're doing things. Yeah. Or it's still like there, and it's not there, but I mean there's still like an effort to keep people under who are not white people in positions of power, and it might be like more underground, but it's still there. Do you feel like what could be done in this country to create like healing and reconciliation? I mean, I know that's hard to say like it's possible, but I mean, still like could there be a way? I'm not talking about, well, obviously the racist people are going to be racist, but I mean the people that could be reached, or some way to to create healing in this country? Do you think it's possible?
I mean,
we've reached a low point.
I think it's definitely possible, but it's just a matter of who in the White House is going to do something about it. Because we don't have the power to do or say anything. We don't have the power to make laws.
Sometimes, yeah.
Like, we don't have the same power that they do. Like, I can't go make a law right now and place it, but the president can, and the people in the White House can. So it's like...
Or at least in Congress, good.
Yeah, and it starts with them. Like, we can say all we want, but really it starts with them. And a matter of them listening to our voices, which they haven't for years.
Do you think like more people of color will go into office, or do you think that like some people will be afraid to go to office because of all like the idea, like if you run for president, black woman or mixed race or what have you, you might get shot or something? I mean, like the risk is a little higher. It's maybe a lot higher than, So I mean, would that deter people, or do you think that people will just say like, I will still do it regardless? Or?
I think it goes both ways. I think there are people who are scared, but I also think that there are people who actually want to make a change in this country. And I feel like our generation is going to be the one to do something, because there's so many like advocates for voices like in our generation that I feel like we have the most capability of doing something. And I feel like it is dangerous being a black president because, I mean,
all the racism
and things like that. But I feel like having, or even if you're not black, even a person of color president would genuinely make a difference in this country just because of their race. And not only that, but it's what's on the inside. What are their morals? What are their goals? Right. As a president, even
a white president who like genuinely cared and would actually go into communities and like listen to people. Seems like that's what we really need, like somebody who actually genuinely cares, not somebody who's like, oh, now I'm going to do something because there was a shooting. Now I'll go and talk about it.
The definition
and give
of
my
Biden.
Prayers or whatever.
That's literally what Biden does.
That's what I feel like, yeah.
Like he'll see a shooting and then he'll be like, okay, I'll do this now. But it's like, you should have been done this. Like, it's because obviously the shootings keep getting worse and worse. Like, there's been a shooting like almost every week.
I know.
Since the year started. And it's just like, how are we not fixing anything? How is that not an issue?
And why did he talk about certain ones and not others? Like, there was just that family, the Honduran family, they just like lost everybody, but like, they're not gonna
didn't say a single word about it. But you say a word about a school shooting where it was all white people that were killed.
Right.
But yet you don't talk about the black people that have been killed.
No.
Just in this past year, which has only been 5 months.
I know, that's ridiculous. So, I guess, is it time?
It's at 23 minutes.
Oh, okay, so we still have a little more time. Good. Okay, so I was worried that it was already time. But my question for you now is what about like African American history, in terms of African American history, and then also what about the fact that you're mixed? Like, I wanted us to talk about that as well. Like how do you negotiate both sides of your identity? I'd be interested in that as well.
Well, I stand up for my black people always. And I feel like with me, like on certain issues I don't speak up because it's not my place, because I am mixed with white. So it's just like I give 100% black people the shine, like it's their time to shine. And I kind of step back, but I always support. And now as to like the white aspect, like I definitely hate how racist some white people are, but then I also try to tell people that there are good white people out there, like that stand for us, like my friends back at home, like they advocate for Black Lives Matter, like they're always there for me, like like things like that. And I'm like, so there's good on both sides, but I mean, one side just has, I don't know how to explain it, like, I don't want to say worse people, but like more racism. Right. Is probably the better term for it.
Right. What do you think is do you feel like that your existence in a sense is like because you're mixed, so you show that there's possibility of black and white, understanding each other? I
mean, definitely, because I am mixed. Like, I'm both black and white. So it's like, we can come together.
That.
Like,
yeah, exactly. yeah. So I just was thinking about that. Well, so what do you? So you're also very sensitive to the African American people who feel like like you're privileged because you're lighter skinned. I mean, because people have talked about that.
I definitely have been told that I do have privilege, and I acknowledge it, and I know it. And I'm not gonna like hide that because I know that I do have some privilege just because I'm a lighter skin tone. But I'm always gonna ride for people who have a darker skin complexion than me. Like, I'm always gonna make sure that they get the same opportunities as I do. Like, if I get an opportunity and they don't just because they're darker than me, then I'm not gonna accept it. Because it's like, if it's like a job, why would I work for you if you're not gonna hire somebody because they're a darker skin tone than me?
Right.
That's because that just shows you that there's a lack of diversity. Right. And even like with body types, like certain black women have different body features.
Right.
Whereas me, since I'm both black and white, I have different body features than them. So it's like, say for modeling, if they don't hire them but they hire me, I'm not going to work for them because it's like, why would you not hire them?
Right.
Because of their skin tone, because of their body, because that's body shaming, and also you're placing a stigma on them as well. So it's just like, I'm definitely a person who is all for equality on both sides. Like, I'm gonna fight for everybody because I need to, because I worry for this country.
Me too.
Not only for myself, but also like for when I have kids.
Right.
Like, I want my kids to feel safe. I want them to be happy in their own skin, and I don't want to live in the country where I have to fear for my life and my kids' life anytime they step out the door.
That's why we really need, do you feel like we need a moment where, I mean, like, we gotta rediscover, I mean, or not even rediscover because it probably didn't ever exist, but like have a moment where our country can actually create there has to be some kind of healing. I mean, if there's not an effort at that, and we just continue going in the direction that we are going in, it's just going to continue getting worse, right? And then it's just like, how can we make it safe? How can anything happen if we don't try to work to that? But then again, it's hard to do that because those people in power, like you said, they're making the decision all the time, a lot of times. But do you feel like in the near future, do you think like people will become more vocal? Because you did see some people like those lawmakers in Tennessee, and then even the white woman who received some kind of white privilege, she wasn't expelled, but then she kind of stood up. She said, I recognize that I have some kind of privilege, but like there were people who were from different backgrounds kind of protesting against the inequalities that are happening. Do you think that that's going to happen? That could happen in the near future?
I definitely want people to get more vocal, and I hope that is the case in the future, because that's all we can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, is just use our voice and speak up for those who fear to use their voice. And that's what I do a lot of the times. Like, even like, say if my friend is like in an argument or something, and like you can tell like she's not a fighter, she's not an arguer, like she's the sweetest soul, I'm gonna stand up for her.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna let somebody dog my friend.
Right.
And I'm not the type of person just to let it happen. Like, I'm gonna stand up for them. And it's just like, as a country, I feel like that's what we need to do for each other, is like stand up for each other and work together. But I don't think that will happen until we get somebody in office who
who understands the importance of it. Yeah.
Right, because Trump has obviously very racist and had a racist past. Biden had a racist past and probably still is racist.
Yes,
but just doesn't post it like Trump does.
Right.
And so it's just like, we just need a president who is not racist at this point. That's the first stepping stone.
Right. And even like being not racist is like, it might, like, a person could come from almost any kind of background, but then it's like, do they actually care?
Right, like
about people. I mean, sometimes it's not so complicated, right?
Right, like you could be white and not be racist and be a good president because you're all for equality. Like, it's not.
But you actually have to care about the people.
Right, and that's the thing that they don't. They just care about themselves and their money.
Right.
Instead of caring about the people of this country. And especially like with the wars that have been going on, like Russia, like we got beef with Russia and all these other people, and it's just like,
we're not even protecting ourselves here in this country.
Like, we're not protected. And he's not, and Biden's not going to do anything to protect us. So it's just like,
I feel like that's a negative viewpoint, but I mean, sometimes I just feel like we're kind of doomed if we're headed in this direction. Like,
we definitely are.
Because they're organized and for sometimes the wrong reason. But I saw that in China, like, you know, and I feel like they're, you know, if they're rising up and then want to, but do it in a violent way, then we can't even figure out how to solve our problems at home. Then problems in the world are happening as well.
Right.
And it's like we're not even understanding how we could work together and
like if we can't even solve our own problems in our own country, how are we going to solve the problems outside of this country? And that little shuttle that was caught in the air and then shot down.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, how is that not scaring people?
Right.
Like, obviously it was brought here across the ocean to spy on us.
Right.
Because it was traveling like over bases and stuff. So it's just like, how is that not a concern to people? Because that just shows that like that is a stepping stone for a war that could happen at literally any given moment.
And you know that I think Russia and China are, I mean, this is my personal opinion, but I think they have people that are like working all day long to post in social media like racist things in the United States and in Europe to foment discord so there can be a civil war in the United States because they want us to collapse. They want us to hate each other and destroy each other.
I mean, we already do
at this
point. So it's like, you're not really doing nothing because we already do.
That's true.
So
good point.
Like, you're just contributing to what's already happening in this country.
Yeah. And that's the sad part. That was the weirdest thing for me to see that over in the United States and then be in China and like they're kind of, some of them are gloating about it, like
like this
how bad it is here, like how there was really never anything here in the first place, like but I mean it's a shame because like, you know, what do you think about the Obama presidency and like I know you were young during that period.
Yeah, I was in elementary school.
So old now, but I mean, like I really had a lot of hope about the Obama presidency. It was like my wife and I, we voted for him twice, and we were just like really. And then when we went to China, then the Trump thing happened, and it was like, and then now there's Biden, and it's just like, do you feel like the Obama presidency made a difference, and why have we kind of gone backwards since it?
I definitely think that even though I was young, like I was in elementary school, I was mad at Michelle Obama for the food, the lunch food. That's what I remember is just because that's when the food changed, like to healthier options. Like now I'm happy about it, like good.
Okay.
But back then, like all the food changed, so that's what I was mad about as a kid. And my parents really didn't tell me like the things that was going on in the country at the time because I wouldn't understand, and they didn't want me to worry about like not being comfortable in my own skin and just things like that. Like they just wanted me to live like a normal childhood life. But I definitely feel like compared to back then to now, I feel like this country was a lot more together, and I kind of feel
during
like
the Obama period.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like how I feel. Like, and so sometimes it's really weird because like as we go towards the future, it should be getting better, but then it's like seems like just getting worse, and it's like a
Yeah.
movie. So
Yeah.
and I do feel like we have the potential to, and I do think like I think you made an excellent point. Like a lot of it depends on leadership. I almost feel like I expect like almost like a person of color, woman, maybe and a black person of color would be better, because it would be a lot easier for that person to understand diversity than like a white person. But at the same time, I still think it could be possible with a white person, but I just feel like the problems are also even greater sometimes than just the president, because it's all within the people as well. And it's this,
I definitely feel that a woman president would definitely make a difference, especially if they're a person of color, just because of all like the whole abortion thing and putting laws on women's bodies. And it's just like, why are we going back to that? Because that was a thing back then, but why are we going back to it now? Like, why can't I do what I want with my own body? Like, why am I forced to have to do something that I don't want to do? And the thing about that is, a lot of times people don't realize this, but women get abortions for not only their health, but for the baby's health. And especially because if they don't have the money to provide care for the baby, if they don't have the housing to provide the proper care for that baby, that's why they're getting an abortion. It's not just because, oh, I'm getting rid of it because I don't want it. Like, no, they're getting rid of it because they're doing what's best for the child. And like, for me personally, if I don't have the money, if I don't have the housing, if I don't have the mental space, like if I'm not mentally right, I would not put my child through that. And then if I don't have a solid relationship with my spouse, then I'm not going to put my child through having to go through divorce, having to switch between houses 24/7. Like, I want my child to have the best life that they can possible. And that is why women get abortions, because they want their child, when it's time for them to have a child, to have the best life. It's not just a matter of, oh, I'm getting rid of it just to get rid of it. Like, no, that's not what it is. It's for health reasons and a bunch of other aspects that people don't want to listen to or realize. They just automatically look at you and say, oh, you're murdering your baby. And literally they'll line up outside of Planned Parenthood, start chanting, it's just sad because people are trying to walk past just to get inside. Some people that aren't even getting an abortion, like they're just getting checked out, go in there and people are just screaming at them that they're killing their baby. They might not even be pregnant. And it's just like, first of all, you should be arrested for harassing. But obviously the cops don't do anything about it because a lot of them are white people. And a lot of them also do support those ideologies.
Some of them are very racist.
Oh, there are so many racist cops. Anytime I get pulled over, I didn't get pulled over, but I've been in the car when people have been pulled over, and I literally like just put my hands like on the dashboard, and I'm just like sitting there like not talking, not looking. I have my phone out, I have my wallet out. I'm like, and if they ask for my ID or anything, I'm like, you grab it. I'm not moving, because I don't know what you're gonna do. You could think I'm reaching for a gun when in reality I'm reaching for my wallet.
You never know. With them, you never know. And then what do you think about like then conservative black males who are blaming black women for abortions? Because like a lot of I've heard that before, like that kind of argument. What do you think about those people making that kind of argument? I think that's ridiculous, because women obviously should have a right to choose its woman's body. But like Clarence Thomas, for example, is one particular example, right? He was instrumental in overturning Roe versus Wade. What do you think about that kind of patriarchal viewpoint?
I definitely think women should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies, because it's their bodies. Because it's like, why is a man telling me what to do with my body? Because you're not living in my body. You're not having the baby. In the delivery room, you just sit there and hold my hand while I'm fighting for my life trying to push the baby out. And people also don't realize how dangerous it is in general just to have a child. Like there are risks and rewards. Like you could have many complications while trying to push a baby out. Like not every pregnancy is a healthy pregnancy. Like you could have a very healthy pregnancy, like living up to the moment, and then all of a sudden the baby could be turned the wrong way. Then they have to go in and turn the baby, and by that time you're already losing a lot of blood because you're trying to push the baby out. and then you could crash. And then there are multiple things like, oh, you might need an emergency C-section. And a lot of times what happens is when women give birth, obviously they get very dehydrated as they just pushed a lot of nutrients out their body and a lot of blood loss, which could cause a multitude of things to happen to them, which is why, like, as soon as they grab the baby, then their team goes over there and then they tend to you, make sure that you're good. And that's why a lot of times not only does the baby have to stay in the hospital, but you have to stay in the hospital too to make sure you're good after the pregnancy. And it's just like people don't realize how dangerous having a child is. But the reward of it, obviously, is something beautiful. Like you just had a child. You carried something in your belly for 9 months, dealt with it, all the morning sickness and things like that, and were able to bring a kid into this world.
Right.
But it's just like with the way our country is heading, it's like it scares me to bring a kid into this world.
That's true.
Because I fear for the lack of diversity in the medical field. Like when I have a child, I'm making sure I'm set up with Black doctors. Or if I do have white doctors, I'm going to make sure that they preach equality.
Exactly.
I'm going to make sure that they make sure that I get the treatment that I need and deserve.
Right.
And that they follow my wishes if something bad were to happen, on whether to save the baby or me, like things like that, like, and not just pick on their own.
Of course, yeah.
Because that's a scary thing to have to think about, but it definitely is thought about, like, when having a child, like, having to think about, oh, well, if this happens, you have to save the baby or me, like, it definitely, like, sickens me to think about, just because I know, like, right now, my personal opinion, I would obviously say to choose me, but then in the moment, I could say save the baby.
Right.
So it could really change, because right now I'm like, oh, like, we can have another one. Like, there's one of me, and, like, things like that. But then in the moment when I'm, like, actually giving the baby, I'm like, you save her. You save the baby.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
It's just
a maternal instinct, probably.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, that motherhood starts kicking in before you even really become a mother. So it's just, like, there's a lot of dangers to pregnancy that people don't realize. So it's like, why are you putting laws on my body? What to do with my body? Like, it's like, are you trying to kill me?
Right.
That's what it feels like, because what if a doctor tells me that if I have this baby, I'll die, and I want to abort it, but I can't?
Do you think, like, America has become so conservative? Is it because of, like, do you think, like, the religious conservative viewpoint as well? Do you think that there's some kind of religious?
Definitely, religion definitely plays a role. I'm a Baptist Christian, and I've been a Christian my whole life. And one thing about me is I will never put my ideologies on another person. You can believe what you want, and I'm not gonna hate. Like, I have a lot of friends who are Muslim. I have a lot of friends who are atheists. I have a lot of friends who may not like God or things like that, but I'm not gonna let that affect our friendship and relationship with each other, because at the end of the day, you're human, I'm human, we both have different beliefs, because I'm not you, you're not me. You can believe what you want, I'm gonna believe what I want. Now if you come to me and ask me on what Christianity is like, things like that, I will guide you to the right way, but obviously people are trying to put Christian ideologies that are not what's actually preached in the Bible onto other people. Like,
that's what I see.
Yeah, like there's different versions of the Bible, but people don't realize that they're twisting the Word of God. And I'm just like, first of all, that is a very big sin. And then second, judging others. Like, for example, abortion, you're judging somebody for getting an abortion. Now I get, if it goes against the Word of God, but if they're doing what's best for them, ask for forgiveness, and He will forgive you. And you're judging them for doing that. And in the Bible, it literally says that that's the biggest sin you can commit, is to judge, because you're supposed to love thy neighbor no matter what. So it's just like, you're going back against your word. You're trying to be this perfect Christian and put it on other people, yet you're not even a real Christian yourself. You're going against the Word of God and twisting it to make people believe what you want to believe. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
And I wanted to ask you, you brought up about, like, social media causing a lot of problems, like intensifying hatred and discrimination and are causing problems in our society. Could you speak more about that?
I definitely think social media has positive and negative effects. The good thing is that, I mean, you can post, make new friends, start a business, make money, and things like that. But the negative things are like, obviously making anonymous accounts, posting what you want, getting addicted to social media, then believing everything you see on the internet. You're comparing yourself to other girls, other men, thinking, oh, I want to be just like them, then try and be like them, and then you're a stalker at that point. And just a bunch of different things have caused social media to take a turn. But it's like, I feel like the negative aspects will never really change, just because, I mean, it's social media. People are going to do what they want. It's just a matter of what we do with it. And
do you think there could be some laws about it, like to?
I mean, they're trying to ban TikTok, but it's just like, that's not going to do anything. That's just going to make it worse, because people are going to make another app and find something. So it's just like.
Oh yeah, okay. And then like the other thing was, what about like Ohio? Like I was just wondering, because I just kind of like, sometimes I think like, if I think of Ohio, I don't know if this is a stereotype, but I just do feel like I don't know, I've heard of like white supremacists.
Oh yeah, there's a lot in Ohio.
Things like that, like racial divisions and things that are kind of really ugly or something. Is that true? Or I mean, I did live in Ohio when I was like really young, like in Cincinnati a long time ago, but I don't really remember it that much. But I mean, are those problems in Ohio?
There definitely are. So I live in Dayton, in the Dayton area, and so it's kind of like right next to the Indiana border. So it's like 30-minute straight shot that way, and then Columbus is like a straight shot, like about an hour or so. And so that area is very diverse. Dayton is very diverse. You have the white areas though, and then you have the black areas. And Dayton is very ghetto. There's a lot of crime. But it's nowhere near as worse as Cleveland. Cleveland is the worst for crime. And there are certain areas where there are a lot more white people and white supremacists. And like, so if I'm driving through Dayton, like on the highway, like you'll see like the houses, you'll see like normal stuff. But then when you get into a certain area, you'll start seeing different houses. And if you get what I'm saying, like they'll have their flag, have their flags out there, and a bunch of big signs. And there was one time where we passed this house, and this house had literally like 30 different Trump signs, a bunch of white supremacy signs, Confederate flag hanging, and then like something of a gun. And I'm literally just like, okay. But, like, it's normal in Ohio, so, like, you're used to it at this point. But, like, that's just kind of... I typically don't go in those areas just because I am black.
Right.
And I don't...
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to get caught up over there. But, I mean, there are good people in those areas, but they're also... It's just... Ohio's definitely a very different state. It's very red. For sure.
It's very red?
Oh, it's a red state, 100%. And the diversity is the most in Dayton, Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and a few other like smaller areas. But that's where diversity is the biggest. Just because they're the most known cities in Ohio. Like, but I mean, even though they're not really known, but because like when I tell people I'm from Dayton, they're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Just think of Cincinnati and go straight up." I'm like, okay. "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Yeah, that's Dayton."
Actually, I didn't really know where Dayton was either. So
it's okay. It's okay. Like I said, not many people know, but like Dayton's right here, Columbus is here, Cincinnati's here. So it's kind of like you just go there, and Dayton's right there. So like if you're going from Columbus to try and get to Indiana, you pass through Dayton.
Okay. Do you think like there's there's going to be like more redlining and more kind of almost segregation in America in the future? Or do you think like what's going to is there a way to break the cycle of intolerance that's set up in America?
I think our generation can break it. It's just a matter of which one of us is going to be the one to do something about it. and actually say something, and then having a leader that will break the line, set their foot down, and be like, hey, this is not okay. We are all equal. We're all human. We're all struggling. Like, we need to come together instead of looking at our differences between each other and judging each other.
Right. Do you feel like the older generation should get a pass, or I don't think
no,
so.
They don't.
As a person who's from the older generation,
no,
I don't think we should get a pass. We should be responsible as well. You know,
even like elderly people say racist things, and I'm over here like okay, like I get respect the elderly, but it's just like.
But not if they're not respecting you.
Right. My big thing is because when I used to tell people this, they looked at me crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, if you don't respect me, I'm not gonna respect you.
Right.
Like, respect is earned. It's not just automatically given.
Exactly.
For me personally.
Right.
And when I tell people that, they're like, what in the world? I'm like, no, you're going to understand one day. And this was when I was in middle school. Like, I preached that since middle school. And now that I'm in college, a lot more people are starting to believe the same exact thing. And I'm like, I told y'all, like.
Oh, yeah. Because I definitely think, like, you know, there are a lot of ignorant older people, so and middle-aged people, but on the other hand, I do feel like, you know, if you're an older person, you can still, like, you can listen, you can be more open-minded, you have a choice, everybody has a choice.
Right.
In life, so I think, like, I don't think, like, the people who are part of the older generation they can also try to change whatever they can, you know, as well.
Right.
So instead of just like us always expecting like the younger generation is just going to change everything.
Right.
And, okay. Well, is there any? What time is it? Is it already?
11:58.
Yeah.